Good evening, everybody. Good evening, guests. We are going to start our program in about 5 minutes, so just want to encourage everybody to grab their last drink, grab their last bite of food, and please find your way to your seats. We're going to get started in about 5 minutes. Good evening, everybody. We'd love for you to find your seats at this time. I'm going to give it another minute, but we would love for everybody to just grab that last drink, grab that last bite, and find your way to your seats or any place that you feel comfortable watching the program tonight. I said I'd give it a minute, but you guys quiet down really fast. I think I'd make a good kindergarten teacher, huh? Hello, everyone. I am Colleen Hill, the Vice President of Development and Donor Services for the Community Foundation, and I am so excited to have the privilege to welcome you all here tonight. Tonight, we are here celebrating philanthropy. We are celebrating community and generosity. We're celebrating the unwavering commitment of our nonprofit partners to serve. And we are celebrating the unmatched spirit of giving and collaboration in the Holland-Zeeland area. Thank you all for being here. We have missed you. We know it's been a really hard season. It continues to be. And I'll tell you, I've learned a lot of lessons over the last couple of years. And one of those is that my time matters. And where I choose to give of it matters. And so for all of you to be here tonight and to choose to spend your evening with us, we do not take that lightly, and we thank you all for being here. Over the past 2 years, leadership has mattered. As a community foundation, we have leaned heavily on our board for guidance and support. We are truly grateful for our board leadership, for all the ways they have encouraged us, pushed us, and trusted us, allowing us to be nimble and responsive to our community when our community needed us most. Leading our board through this season has been an extensive commitment, including extra meetings and countless emails and texts. I want to thank Leslie Brown and Jim Bishop for serving as our chairs in our 2019, 2020, and 2020-21 board years, respectively. These two really shared in the responsibility of leading us through the very challenging early days of the pandemic. And our current board chair, Deb Sturkin, seamlessly stepped in to buoy our efforts and continue to support us. I have invited Deb Sturkin, our current board chair, up tonight to say a few words.
Hi, I am Deb Sturkin, as she said, and it's been my pleasure this year and privilege to be the chair of the Holland-Zeeland Community Foundation. And it has been a truly unique time to serve on the Board of Trustees. But I couldn't be prouder of the ways in which the foundation has stepped up and delivered on its promises to the community. On behalf of the entire board, I welcome you and thank you for joining us here tonight. We missed gathering last year, but we're grateful that we can do it this year with over 700 friends here to celebrate philanthropy and community. We are truly honored that so many people care about the success of this foundation and share the mission, ensuring that the community will thrive today, tomorrow, and forever. The theme for tonight's event is a reason to celebrate. And tonight, we do have a lot to celebrate. We celebrate each one of you here and the hope that you have created for so many in our community through your generosity and support of the foundation. We will celebrate the foundation hitting a major milestone tonight, and we will celebrate some of our important partners who have done amazing work in our community. And speaking of some people who do amazing work, it's our staff. They are exceptional. They are dedicated and committed to lead this organization forward every day, creating the biggest community impact possible and serve you all well. Over the past 2 years, during a pandemic no less, this mighty team proved more than ever their commitment to serve the community. I am so proud of and so grateful for this great group of people. Now, I know you can see behind me, and I know you can all read their names, but I really want to give a big shout out to this staff. So I'm just going to read their names in alphabetical order because they are all important. Rob Arnold, Ellie Davis, Mike Gorehouse, Colleen Hill, Elizabeth Kidd, Johanna Jenkins-Lee, Jessica Lynch, Sydney Santa Ana, Stacy Timmerman, and Barbara Widener. So please join me in thanking them.
Thank you, Deb. And thank you to our entire board. I know many of you are here tonight, and we just want you to know how much we appreciate every minute of your time, piece of advice, and word of encouragement. We're grateful for your commitment to our community. We're grateful for your support of our team, and we're certainly thankful for your leadership on the Community Foundation staff. In a way never previously experienced, over the past 2 years, I have witnessed the generosity of our community. And tonight is just another example of that. And I want to thank several people for making this evening possible. But first, I want to tell Jennifer that I will call you up in just a minute.
I'm sorry. I'm early. I've never been early before, to be honest with you. So
We love her. But I didn't want her standing there this whole time. I hope you all enjoyed your amazing grazing meal this evening. If you didn't already while planning, yes. I'm going to give you another opportunity for that in a minute because our restaurant partners are pretty amazing. I hope that you have all taken a moment to look at your menu and just recognize and notice all of the restaurant partners who are here tonight giving of their time, talent, and food. I think everyone in this room probably knows that our restaurants are having a really tough season and they are in the thick of it. And for them to be here tonight is such a gift. And I know for all of them, a really big sacrifice of their time. And so I just want to thank and give another round of applause to all of our restaurant partners, their staff, their owners for being here tonight. Restaurant partners, I just want you to know that we thank you here tonight. I mean, you got 2 rounds of applause. Like, we are really grateful that you're here, and we will continue to thank you with our business throughout the year. There are so many individuals and companies that make this event run smoothly, and then there are a few that we just absolutely in no way could do it without. And so I want to start by thanking our lead event coordinator, the amazing and fabulous Robin Allison of the organizer, her wonderful friend Kim Lemon, and the many, many volunteers who have been here for the last 2 days setting up and who are serving you tonight. Hours of hard work went into putting all the details together to turn a boat shed into a space to host an event for 700 people. And so I just want to have you join me in thanking and celebrating all of our amazing volunteers here tonight. This year, more than any other year, space was an absolutely critical component in our ability to host this event. And so I want to thank Mike and Melissa Evenhouse and the entire Evenhouse family and the Emmy Yachts team for welcoming us here tonight and providing for us just the most spectacular backdrop for our event. For about 2 months, hold on. I got more. I'm telling you. For about months, we pepper them with questions, and then we invade their business for an entire week right after Labor Day. And they not only, graciously allow it, but they bend over backward to welcome us into their space. So please, please, now we're going to cheers. Like, thank you, Mike and Melissa and the entire Emmy Yachts team. I love that you guys are ready to cheers for everything. Me too. We're here. I would also like to thank our many, 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 many generous sponsors for tonight. Their contributions help us both put on a spectacular event, but also help us do our work in the community all year, because this is the only event that we host to raise dollars for our operating budget. So this evening, we have 68 sponsors. Folks, that is a record, like, by a lot. We are just so amazed by the community support. There is a complete list on your program of all of this evening's sponsors, and I'd like to draw your attention tonight to our champion level sponsors. Please help me in thanking our champion level sponsors. I would also like to express a very special thanks to our investor level sponsors. Alpine Events, who helped us transform a boat shed into a beautiful event space. Fifth Third Bank, Gentex Corporation, Herman Miller Cares, Howard Miller Company, Emmy Yacht Restoration and the Even House family, Padness, People IT, and West Michigan Community Bank. Thank you for sustaining our operations and joining us tonight. Please help me in celebrating all of our sponsors this evening. Our legacy sponsor for this evening's event, returning for, come on up, Jennifer, returning for a 7th year and even continuing to support us last year when we couldn't host our event, is our friends at Warner, Norcross, and Judd. And they're so excited to be here that they couldn't even, like...
This is what happens when you don't leave your house for a year and a half, you know? You're excited to be here, so...
Warner is an awesome and generous firm and great partner of the Community Foundation, and we are just truly honored that you are here again tonight as a sponsor. So, Jennifer, you know, you've sponsored for several years, as I just said, several years, 7 years in a row. And so we talked beforehand and just said, you know what, let's do this a little bit differently. Rather than you just share a few comments to our friends of the Community Foundation, I want to ask you a few questions to let everyone here get to know both Warner as a firm and then also maybe even you as a person a little bit. You still game for that?
Oh yeah, I'm game for that.
All right, great. So, Jennifer, I know that Warner is a multi-dimensional firm with a full suite of legal services. You specifically are an estate planning attorney with Warner's private client and family office group. And so you specialize in helping families and individuals with estate planning, business succession planning, and plan giving and charitable giving, which is often where we end up intersecting, where your firm and the Community Foundation helping some of your clients achieve their charitable goals. So I've got a bit of a two-part question that, if I'm honest, is really two questions I shoved together for the sake of time, but I'm just so curious. I've got two questions. So one, I want to know why Warner values a partnership with the Community Foundation and continues to support us. I'd love to hear that. And I want to know what you enjoy most about your work with families.
Sure. Well, we're glad to be here tonight, obviously. We're early to the party and everything. But it's been such an honor to continue to sponsor this event. Mike and Colleen and the team, they do such a great job. And it's always so much fun to see so many members of the community and our local businesses coming to support the Community Foundation. So to answer your question, Colleen, the reason that we continue to sponsor this event and support the Community Foundation is really quite simple. We believe in what you do. We believe in the mission, and we really believe in your goal to strengthen our community, not only now, but as well as in the long term. So for me personally, I have lived in Holland with my husband and practiced law here for over 16 years. It's crazy to think it's been that long. It's crazy to think that you and I met in
We're not that old.
No, I mean, we haven't aged, but that you and I met in Holland Young Professionals about that long ago. So it's been a while. So, and it's also crazy to think about how the world has changed during that period and how things have evolved, especially this year looking back. And so it highlights the importance, really, of a strong community foundation in our community and others. And it also highlights the importance of a strong and robust community endowment within that foundation. That's why it's so fun, and we're obviously excited to come tonight, because we know, and we talked about coming into this, that the Community Foundation has reached a real milestone that will be beneficial to our community forever, and that's crossing the $100 million mark in assets, which is pretty fabulous, and I was pretty excited to hear that. So if we could give that a round of applause, because that is something to celebrate. And that really is the support of the community, as well as the value and the work that goes into it. And so I should answer the second part by saying, yes, I'm an estate planning attorney, and I should start really by just saying I love what I do. I have the privilege of helping clients establish their legacies, as well as positioning their families, their businesses, and their communities for success. And so that's always a lot of fun. And even though Warner's got the largest estate planning practice in the state of Michigan with over 26 active T&E attorneys, I had the opportunity about 5 years ago to really starting to specialize in charitable giving. And that's just been a lot of fun. And when I was asked, I said, of course, who wouldn't want to help give away other people's money for good purposes, but in all seriousness, it's been a lot of fun and really just a joy to help our families and a lot of our local companies, to be honest, structure charitable giving in the best way and develop strategies to help them accomplish their goals. And that is often where we intersect with you, and it's always such a joy to work with the team. The Community Foundation is not only a great steward of resources. I mean, we obviously know that, especially if we look at how, the milestone that we've just reached. But frankly, you make giving easy. And who doesn't like easy? So for that, you're a joy to work with and collaborate with, and that's why we keep showing back up. So we say thank you.
Well, thank you, Jennifer. We always say if giving is easy, people will give more. So let's make it easy.
True.
Thank you, Jennifer. We're truly grateful for your trust in us, and we value every opportunity to help serve your clients. And just really want to ask all of you to help me thank Warner for being here tonight. So now that we got to know Warner a little bit better, I want us to get to know Jennifer Remendino a little bit better. So I think one of the ways that you get to know somebody, in my opinion, is understanding their taste in music. So I want to know, my next question is, who is the #1 artist on your playlist?
Oh, it's a tough question. It really is. But I would have to say Neil Diamond.
Neil Diamond.
Yeah. Who doesn't like some Neil Diamond?
Who doesn't like some Neil Diamond? You know what? I agree with that. Okay. I said one question, but I've got to have a follow-up question to that, because Neil Diamond's got a pretty big repertoire. So
he does.
If Neil Diamond is like the #1 artist on your playlist, like what is the #1 song?
There's so many, but Sweet Caroline.
Oh.
It is going to be the winner. Who raise your hand if you agree? I mean, that's...
Ba, ba, ba. Yes, I completely agree. You cannot hear that song without singing and dancing along, 100%. Well, I don't know, folks. I feel like I know Jennifer better. I feel like I know Warner better. I think we're having a great night. Thanks again, Warner, for all of your support. Help me again. Thank Warner.
When it began, we knew we could make a difference to keep our towns growing strong.
Building endowment, providing service to donors, stewarding resources along.
Holding hands, reaching out.
done. Together we've made a difference. Help this community we love.
You guys, good morning. Hey.
Supporting families and our nonprofit sector, scholarships, grants, and leadership.
Hands, holding hands, reaching out, supporting me, supporting you.
Sweet town of mine, our community funds for good. We are inclined to believe we always should forever.
The Community Foundation seeks to ensure that our community thrives today, tomorrow, and forever. Thank you, Holland Zealand, for being for good, forever.
Sweet town of mine, our community funds for good. Sweet town of mine, our community funds for good. We are inclined to believe we always should forever.
How cool was that video? We've been dying for you guys to see that video. It turned out great. And a big shout out to Dave Purnell and DP Creative for pulling it all together. Somebody's over here. We got our lead singers, Vanika Brannon, Mark Dykema, Matt Hennegraff. They're over here in the middle. You guys did fantastic. You saw the cameos. I mean, there were hundreds of volunteers on that bridge. So many people came together to make that video. And we do live in a sweet town, don't we? I think we do. Sweet town of mine. This is perfect. So you're going to get that video. We're going to email to, if you have an email address, you'll get it tomorrow. We'll get it on social media. And we just want to share this around for near and far. We want people to know how amazing our community is. So you can help us out in that way tomorrow. And you can watch it again. And you can kind of look for all the people you may know. And but really fun. So thanks for all who made it happen. And before I leave that note, there is one person who absolutely needs to be thanked for this. And that is Colleen Hill. So Colleen Colleen deserves a round of applause, big time. She was the visionary who came in and said, Mike, I got an idea. Do you trust me? And I said, yes. What's the idea? But she pulled together an amazing video. She had the vision, the execution, all the right people, pulling the pieces and parts together. Many of you got emails. So Colleen, we are so grateful that you gave us this gift tonight of pulling this video together. So big shout of applause to my colleague, Colleen Hill. Now, you've heard that this is a time to celebrate. The whole name of the thing tonight. And I was given the responsibility of being able to celebrate two big things. And for the first one, I've invited my predecessor at the foundation and friend, Janet DeYoung, to join me for the first of my two celebrations.
Thanks, Mike. It's a delight to be here tonight.
Always good to have you back. And the first one that we get to celebrate, you got to hear a taste of it from Jennifer earlier, but end of 2020 was a big milestone for the Community Foundation. It was a big milestone of growth, and you heard Jennifer say it. The foundation, for the first time in our history, crossed $100 million in total philanthropic assets. I mean, just unbelievable. Can we get some fireworks for that? Hey, that's good. But we kind of kept it under wraps a little bit for the last 9 months. We wanted to celebrate here. We could have kind of done a big thing back in January, February, but the markets, we didn't know, did we cross it and go back down? So we wanted to wait till here to celebrate it. But it also has given me some months to think and reflect on this milestone and think about how we got to today. And I have to tell you, 9 months of thinking about getting to this milestone, and I am just in awe of those that founded the Community Foundation. I just really am. I mean, they had this vision when there was nothing. I mean, there was nothing there. The vision that the Holland-Zeeland area needed to build a robust communities endowment to ensure that we had resources to respond to whatever was happening. I mean, that's actually kind of a crazy vision, right? I mean, if you think about this, let's think back to the early conversations. You're sitting in someone's living room, hey, would you make a donation to this new thing? You're going to put it in an endowment. We're going to give away a couple $1,000 to local nonprofits. And wait, why don't I just give to nonprofits myself? Why would I give to this endowment to give away a little bit? Those were some hard sells, but we had some early moments that were key to starting this growth out. And the first was the W.K. Kellogg Foundation offered a matching grant opportunity for gifts to communities endowment at community foundations. And so that helped get the growth going a little bit. And then we had the two community foundations that merged. There used to be two separate community foundations. Can you imagine two parties? If we got to do a Holland one and a Zeeland one, that would have been fun. But together, that catalyzed some more growth for the organization. It also allowed us to hire a full-time executive director for the first time. And Bill Vanderbilt was perfect for the job. He was exactly what this entity needed. He knew everyone and would get around town and paint the picture for people of believe in this vision. This is what this can become. We're starting early, but we got to build it to get down the road. And so Bill did a fantastic job. And when Bill retired, the assets had crossed $25 million. And Janet was hired. And I've heard the story. Janet's told me that, I don't know if it was your first day or first week or maybe even the interview process, I don't know. But our friend John Nordstrom told Janet that her goal was to cross $50 million in assets. Well, Janet had to navigate a 2008-2009 financial crisis in there. Thankfully, that was you and not me. But with Janet's leadership, the foundation, by the time Janet had retired, had crossed this 50 million asset mark, had doubled. Bill, with his relationships and really spreading the word, and then what Janet did, she operationalized the organization, but she really institutionalized people in this town believing that the foundation was creating impact, was using these dollars to create impact in the community, and the foundation of those relationships plus that impact really catalyzed these last few years where we've jumped now from 50 to 100 million. I mean, really, it's been unbelievable growth. But the growth isn't just in assets. So we're hitting this milestone. But if I really, as I was thinking about it, it was growth in relationships, as evidenced by how many people are showing up tonight. The foundation's breadth and depth of our relationships have grown right along with our assets. And if you just, throughout our year, the number of people, the different corners of community with which we engage and talk and get advice from and learn from, it is continuing to grow and diversify, and that's exactly what needs to happen for this to truly be our community's foundation.
Absolutely, Mike.
Go.
Absolutely, Mike. There we are. And I like to link the growth you talked about to growing trust. I believe that the growth the Community Foundation has seen in both its assets and relationships has only been possible because of the increasing trust that the community members have developed in the organization over time. Donors have grown to trust the foundation to be a good steward and a wise investor of their gifts. And nowhere, Mike, has that trust been more evident than in your successful Today, Tomorrow, and Forever campaign. Kudos to you. And the community has come to trust the foundation to be fair, equitable, and responsive to its most important needs. We've seen a growth in impact as well. Some of you sitting here tonight will remember meeting in the basement of the Howard Miller Library in Zeeland, where we agonized over $250 grants to deserving applicants. Now, grants of $25,000, $50,000, and $75,000 are the norm. Sometimes the impetus, along with the capacity for change, can come from unexpected places. When I was hired in late 2005, my charge from the board was to do two things: grow the assets to $50 million and explore ways to use the existing $25 million asset base for greater community impact. Well, like any wise new nonprofit leader, I expected to spend the first year listening and learning. However, within a month of my starting, an anonymous donor offered a $100,000 gift to the foundation. The only strings were that we were to use it to innovate and expand our impact in the community. Well, after discussion, the board voted that yes, they would accept that gift with that stipulation, and we were off. We studied best practices and sought input from a community-wide forum. Among other things, the foundation was able to make the first major gift to Lakeshore Advantage for the Bioeconomy Institute, just down the road from here. And Ready for School was born. The donor was pleased with our work, and their designated financial gifts continued through the next 10 years. Over its 70 years, the foundation's role in the community has grown as well. Developing trust has allowed it to evolve from a smaller supportive role to one of significant community leadership. Today, the community often looks to the foundation, especially Mike and Elizabeth, to help identify, interpret, and influence community-level challenges and opportunities. But now we need to be clear. All this talk about growth is only possible because of each of you. We want to take a minute to specifically recognize foundation board and committee members for their meaningful role in leading the organization's growth, enabling it to achieve this $100 million asset milestone. From investment guidance to fundraising to overall stewardship, we've had an amazing board and committee throughout our history. Now, if you're serving or have served on the foundation board or a board committee, would you please stand where you are so we can recognize you?
There's like 35 of you here, 40.
Thank you for your service. In reality, the credit for the foundation's growth in assets, relationships, impact, trust, and community leadership belongs to all of you. Tonight, we want to celebrate with you, and we want to celebrate you.
Well said, Janet. And the board certainly matters. Leadership matters a lot on the board side, but the leadership matters on the staff side as well. I don't always get a chance to do this, so this is my chance, and I'm going to do it. Our friend Bill Vanderbilt is not with us today. We so wish he was, and Susan is here. We wish he could. We know he's watching, and is very proud of all what his hard work has turned into. But Bill was the right person to get this thing going from the staff side. And then Janet, this is, I've always said, big growth follows big impact. It has to go that way. Big impact first and then big growth. And what you did to turn this organization, continue to then just deepen the ways that we were smart and wise in investing resources was huge. So to both Bill and Susan on Bill's behalf, but also you have played such an important role in this milestone tonight. So can I just celebrate both Bill and Janet tonight for their work in helping us meet this milestone? And Mike. You're good. You're good. Thank you. Some phenomenal leaders, and I really am honored and privileged. I think you saw a picture of me with the two of them, and the learnings I've had from both Bill and Janet are huge. So having that leadership baton passed from Janet to me is very, very, very meaningful to me. So the growth, as Janet mentioned, is truly about impact, and no year was that more obvious than 2020. The foundation, because of all you, had these resources to respond. And we had promised to you that we were going to use them for these unforeseen needs and opportunities. I promise I did not know a pandemic was coming when I was saying that, right? But this is the whole purpose. I said so many times to our staff and board, this is why the foundation is here. This is why people gave to us 40 and 50 and 60 years ago. So we had resources for this moment. We could talk a lot about how the foundation responded. I'm not going to do that tonight. What I am going to point out is our 2020 annual report is out fresh tonight. There's some copies on the table on the way out. I encourage you to snag one and read it. It chronicles our response from the beginning in March all the way through in all the different ways that we stepped up. Many of you will get it in your mailboxes in the coming weeks as well. But I encourage you to read it. We set up as a timeline for a reason, because if 2020, I mean, you had to know where you were in 2020 for anything to make any sense. So it's set up as a timeline. And I want you to, when you read the stories, see yourself in these stories. I mean, any one of you who made any donation to the Today, Tomorrow, Forever campaign, I will look you in the eye and say, you were a part of every single one of those stories. That impact was possible. Those lives were changed. Those organizations were funded because you trusted and believed that it mattered. The foundation had resources to be nimble, responsive, bold, move quickly, and do all the things that we hoped we were going to be able to do. So the annual report is the perfect place to kind of learn more of those stories. One quick shout out before I move from that. The First National Bank of Michigan sponsored our annual report this year. We had to put a few extra pages in the annual report this year because of how many things happened in 2020. So extra thanks to them for allowing us to do that. I want to get that shout out there. So thanks to First National Bank. But I am not going to talk anything more about the Community Foundation response tonight, because tonight, the second thing I get to celebrate is our nonprofit partners. We've been waiting a long time to do this, because these were the stars of the show. If you look at 2020, our nonprofit organizations and some individuals in the community, they took public, private, philanthropic resources, they paired them with all the relationships and trust they had in community, and they walked alongside thousands and thousands of our neighbors to make sure that every single person, as best as we could, stayed fed, housed, and healthy through this pandemic. So tonight, we get a chance to celebrate them, and there's no one better to help me celebrate our nonprofit partners than our Vice President of Community Impact, Elizabeth Kidd, who's joining me on stage. We ready to do this?
I sure am.
Yeah, this is good. Okay, so we're going to tell you stories. Tonight's storytelling. And the first story starts on Friday, March 13th. If you remember, Thursday, March 12th was the night we found out that schools were going to be closed for a couple weeks. And the next morning, my first text phone call was from Patrick Sisler, who's head of the Lakeshore Nonprofit Alliance and Community Spoke. And I don't remember exactly what it said, but it said something to the effect of, how are we going to do this together? Because if there's a king of together in our town, a king of collaboration, I believe it's Patrick. So his first thoughts were, how do we do this as one? And believe it or not, by that afternoon, we had 24 community leaders in a room talking about how we were going to do this together. And by like 5 o'clock that day, we had a funder collaborative, we had a website, we had a name, Care Ottawa County, we had a name by 5 o'clock on Friday. And we had this thing formed. By the next Monday, Patrick was hosting daily calls, 2:30, 2:30, I forget, one of those things. Daily calls. 55, 60 nonprofit leaders, many of you in the room were on those calls every day for 3 or 4 weeks, because guess what? Nobody knew up from down, left from right, but we knew we were going to do it together. We were getting updates on the health side of things. What are you doing? What are you doing? Okay, let's form this little subgroup to focus on that. Oh, you're doing that, then I'll pivot over here. I mean, folks, our town is known for collaboration, but there is nothing like what happened with CareOttawaCounty.com. I mean, it was unbelievable. So first story, big shout out to Patrick Sisler for keeping us all together and moving in the right direction. It was huge. And a lot of the stories we're going to tell kind of came through that effort. So let's do it.
Yep, you got it. So that Friday back in March, if you have any children in your life, you know life changed really dramatically, really fast. In-person school was over, after-school programs were not happening, summer camp was canceled, and that was hard for every child, but especially for those students that were already struggling in school. And we have some amazing partners in our community that really intentionally reach out to those students. And one of them is CASA, Children's After School Achievement at Hope College. They provide amazing one-on-one tutoring to many children in our community. And they weren't seeing their kiddos. And you know what they did? Rather than, lament that fact, they got in their cars and they drove around town and they pulled into people's driveways. They dropped off books, they dropped off markers and crayons and all kinds of activities for kids to do. They stood at a social distance with parents and did troubleshooting for Zoom calls. They figured stuff out. They stayed in contact with those kids, with those parents, and kept those connections that are so key to learning strong.
That picture of them in the driveways. Yeah, we can clap every time. I'm good with that. I am good with that. The theme is the time to celebrate. The picture of them in the driveways is something I will never forget, and it also connects to this next story, an organization that also used their driveway differently than it's ever been used before, and that is Community Action House. So you remember when all things happened, people were furloughed and we didn't know, when the jobs and this and that, and Community Action House primarily serves individuals who are living paycheck to paycheck. And when you don't know when you're going to be able to go back to work and what that's going to look like, your immediate thought is, how am I going to keep food on the table a week from now or 2 weeks from now? And so Community Action House, they had to scale up very quickly. Scott's the numbers guy, but it was 3x at least what they were doing last summer as they would have done in that year. But oh, by the way, we're doing 3 times the amount of food, but we can't do it in the way we normally do it. We can't have volunteers come in. People can't come into our pantry. So they do this food box system, and this is where the connection with the driveway comes. We had people in the community packing food boxes, dropping them off, and then they would add some stuff, and families would come and pick up boxes, and they had different types of boxes that were different ethnic foods appropriate for different members of our community. I mean, it was truly amazing the way they scaled up quickly, changed their delivery system, while also accommodating community. So huge shout out to Community Action House and their team for what they did there.
So another group that stepped up to take on something that frankly wasn't necessarily in their wheelhouse was the Bridge in Zeeland. Any of you know Jed Mulder, Bridge Youth Center, downtown Zeeland?
Yep.
They got some good folks there. They saw that a lot of their kids and families were just really struggling, trying to figure out, life is uncertain right now, where do you go for support? And they stepped up. They said, hey, we may not be running after school programming, but we can still help out. And the next thing you know, they've got 700 families a week coming by, picking up boxes of supplies, getting, that opportunity to have a familiar face, hear some words of support. They turned their gym essentially into a warehouse, all kinds of household necessities, other things that people might need. I mean, they just turned their world upside down to be what they needed to be for the kids and families that they served.
Yeah, huge shout out to Bridge I love that. Gym turned into a warehouse, and it was. Another example is the state had announced a program called the Employee Assistance Program, and this was financial resources that were dedicated for employees of companies who had been forced to shut down by the various pandemic mandates. Sounds like a great idea. Here's the problem. People had 10 days to apply for the assistance. Problem number 1. Problem number 2, you could only apply online, so you had to have internet access to apply. Problem number 3, the online website was only in English, and when we called, they said, it's 10 days, this is what it's going to be. Now look, folks, many people in our community who needed access to these resources, you're strike 1, strike 2, and strike 3. I mean, 10 days, online only, and English only, that's not a good plan. So what do our nonprofits do? Start with the libraries. Howard Miller Library, Heritage Library raised their hand and said, we'll dedicate some computers and some space in the libraries for anyone who wants to come and needs to apply and get access to internet that way. Phenomenal, great. Then the next thing, Lighthouse Immigrant Advocates raise their hands and says, we'll translate the resources into Spanish so people can follow along and get through the application process. Amazing. And then third, Community Action House and Lighthouse Immigrant staff actually staffed the library stations, so if anyone came in, they actually helped them through the process to make sure they had access to resources. Now remember, the whole thing was 10 days. So all those partnerships came together in 48 hours. I mean, talk about collaboration. Libraries, the state had a program. We made it happen. So our local nonprofits were delivering again. So kudos to all those involved in that collaboration.
When we were all last together here 2 years ago, we spent a lot of time talking about mental health and just how critical those needs already were even before the pandemic hit in our community. And as most of you know, staying at home, cut off from family and friends, all those normal social supports that we all lean on, that was hard for everyone. And if you were already struggling with mental health issues, if addiction was a struggle in your life, this was a really tough time. And the providers that work with those community members, they knew that, and they knew that they could not just let things fall through the cracks. So they pivoted, they tried new stuff. We had OR, which is now Reach for Renewal, Beacon of Hope, and others suddenly doing telehealth, like in a week or two. They pivoted so quickly, had their counselors providing those sessions online, gathered support groups through Zoom calls. We had people expanding their hours so that more people could get a hold of someone on the phone. Sarah from Mosaic Counseling, she was even fielding calls herself at one point, taking intakes, because people knew that if you were reaching out at that time, you really needed help. And you needed someone to pick up that phone, answer your email, be there to provide that counseling session for you, because there was so much at stake. And for those providers, they just really made sure that that lifeline did not disappear in a moment when people needed it most.
Yeah, kudos to the mental health providers in all the ways. Sometimes it was pivoting, and sometimes it was just making something new. An example of that actually is Raina Mascow. So Raina's here in the house, and what she saw was happening was many of our immigrant neighbors and friends didn't have access to the state and federal resources that were coming down. And then there were people in the community that knew that and said, I want to help funnel some financial resources to those families. Well, we didn't have a mechanism in the community to make that happen. And so what did Raina do? She made it happen. She partnered with St. John's Episcopal, formed the Immigrant Relief Fund, and created this channel for people to support our immigrant neighbors who didn't have access to some of the other dollars. So Raina, I hope that stays around for a long, long time, but kudos for making that happen super fast.
I don't know about you all, but when I first heard that we were staying at home for 2 weeks, I thought, hey, I got my 2 weeks of groceries, I can camp out, I can do this. And 2 weeks became 4 weeks, 8 weeks. And that was kind of unnerving. I mean, I love my family, but that's a lot of time together. But, you know, if you had experienced violence in your home, if you were living with someone that you didn't feel safe with, that wasn't just unnerving, that was frightening. That was life and death. And our partners at Resilience heard both that. They also heard, though, that leaving to go to a shelter, even leaving to go stay with family and friends was not a simple matter. People were also very scared of COVID. We didn't know much at that time. And so they were really facing two bad choices. And Beth Larson and the Resilience team, they heard that, and they said, you know what, there's a third way. We can find another path out for folks, and they did. They connected with local hotels, many of whom had a lot of vacant rooms at the time, and they found an alternate way for people to get to safety and to have that secure pathway where they could be physically safe, but they also didn't have to be scared for their health as well. And that type of creative thinking made a huge difference.
Yeah, kudos to Resilience for making that happen. And housing certainly mattered. And another example on the housing front was our partners at Good Samaritan Ministries, who were offered an opportunity through some of the federal dollars to do what at the time was called the Eviction Diversion Program. It was rental assistance for folks who had fallen behind to make sure that landlords could get paid and that they weren't evicted, because the pandemic is, there's never a good time to be evicted, but the pandemic is the worst time to get evicted. And so this was a great program, but you may have actually heard about this program on the news lately if you saw these articles about some communities were only spending 4, 5, 6% of the dollars that they were allocated for their community. Now, here in Ottawa County, Holland-Zeeland, we don't want to leave dollars on the table. So let's be really clear. Good Samaritan Ministries, they stepped up immediately. They actually went through all of their allocation, connected it all to families, and then they went back to the state and said, if other people out there aren't using their allocation, we'll take some of their allocation. I think they did it twice, if I got that right. They actually went back twice. Our folks were getting all the money simply because Good Samaritan Ministries was efficient, effective. They were hiring just more quickly than everywhere else. They were delivering. And then that led to even more money in 2021. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars, probably millions, that came to families and landlords in our community strictly because Good Samaritan Ministries was so much faster and efficient than other nonprofits at making this happen. Can you believe that? Millions of dollars because our nonprofits rock. It was great.
There were certainly the issues that we figured these are going to be problems in the midst of a pandemic, but there were other things that were surprising and frankly interesting challenges that arose. And one of those was, we have a lot of great local farmers that produce, small family farms. A lot of them grow for restaurants, for events like this. And last summer, that stuff was not happening. So they were sitting on all this great produce. Their crops were ready to go, but there was nobody to buy it. And we also had nonprofit partners that were seeing more people than ever walk through their doors needing food assistance. And we all know, the beautiful fresh food of West Michigan is way better than something you can grab off the shelf. So they put the dots together. And, we had partners like Harvest Stand Ministries, Ottawa Food say, you know what, we've got resources to purchase food. Let's use those dollars, pay our local farmers, make them whole, and then also get that beautiful bounty of West Michigan into the kitchens, into the refrigerators, on the dining room tables of our family members who are struggling. It was really a win-win for everyone involved. And honestly, we could go on for a long time with these stories. I mean, there are just so many. KV, Ricardo, Reina, everybody that helped with the Vaccine Equity Task Force, Dave Knibbie and Evergreen Commons, they did everything possible to make sure that our seniors got access to the vaccine once it was available. Lynn Kotecki and Movement West Michigan, she and the partner churches involved there, they came alongside an effort called the Direct Cash Assistance Program and just made it happen for people. They did everything that was necessary to see it through. People pivoted, they went the extra mile, they collaborated, they really did it all.
They sure did. And let's not forget that these folks and staff of nonprofits, they were doing this while navigating the pandemic in their personal lives as well. They had kids who had to do learning at home. They had family members they were worried about their safety. They were navigating the pandemic just like all of us in their personal worlds. And then they also showed up for our community. They did all these things at the same time. They truly, I mean, our nonprofit leaders and staff were unbelievable last year. So, for those of you nonprofits in the room, now I'm looking straight at you. I wish I could look at all you in the eyeballs at the same time. And I want you to know how grateful we are for all the sacrifices that we know about and the sacrifices that we don't know about as you showed up to care for the most vulnerable in our community in a crazy time. We are so beyond grateful. We would stay here all night and say every one of your names and tell every story, but eventually Colleen's going to pull me off stage. So what I want to do, though, is I would like every person in this room who works for a nonprofit organization to stand, and we're going to give them the biggest round of applause this community's ever seen. So if you work for a nonprofit organization, please stand so we can show our gratitude and appreciation for all that you do. Y'all are amazing. And this is just a small token. What I would encourage every one of you to do, you saw the people who were standing. Thanking them publicly in this way is meaningful and a big deal. What I'd also encourage you to do is, when this is over in a second here, just go up to somebody and tell them thanks. You may not know how much that would mean to our nonprofits, so just tell them how much they're seen and valued and appreciated. So you saw who stood, catch them on the way out and say thank you personally. And I also encourage you, as you get to the end of the year and you're thinking about your charitable giving, remember how much they stepped up. You know, just give a little more if you can. I mean, if you can do an extra zero, that always goes a long ways. And the end, you know, but really just encourage us all to support our nonprofit organizations both in all the ways that we can. So they know how much we appreciate them. So tonight was a night to celebrate, and we celebrated so many things. I loved Deb's phrase about celebrating the hope that you all create in our community. That's just a beautiful picture, and I think that's what this is. So we celebrate you all and the hope that you create. We celebrate the foundation hitting an asset milestone that truly is about impact, and we celebrate our nonprofit partners. So we're done celebrating for tonight. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. Stay safe out there. Stay as long as you want. Enjoy the evening, and we look forward to doing this again next year. Have a great night.
when it began. We knew we could make a difference to keep our towns growing strong.
Building endowment, providing service to donors, stewarding resources along.
Holding hands, reaching out, supporting me, supporting you.
Sweet town of mine, ba, ba, ba. Our community funds for good. We are inclined, ba, 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 to believe we always should forever.
Look what we've done. Together we've made a difference. Help this community we love.
You guys, hey.
Supporting families and our nonprofit sector, scholarships, grants, and leadership.
Hands, holding hands, reaching out, supporting me, supporting you.
Sweet town of mine, ba, ba, ba. Our community funds for good. We are inclined, ba, 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 to believe we always should forever.
The Community Foundation seeks to ensure that our community thrives today, tomorrow, and forever. Thank you, Holland Zealand, for being for good forever.
Sweet town of